Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Constant Agitation. I'm your host Jimmy, and as always, I'm joined by Ava.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good. Good.
Long time no see
Yes.
since last week. What do we have today?
We have an exciting topic that we wanted to kind of forgot last week, and we decided to do it now this week.
Right. Today we're gonna take a look at a single photo that we wanted to mention last week, but
Yes.
it went on very long.
Yes.
So we decided maybe today we keep it short and we talk about that one thing.
Yeah, I think it will give us for a long conversation. I think it's one picture, but it has a lot to be said about it. Maybe before we get into the picture, we can just maybe talk a little bit what we've been up to this week.
Yes, definitely we can do that. What do you have in mind?
The super exciting news that we started developing Slide.
Oh yeah, we did go out and get ourselves a sliiiides kit.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that process?
I mean, I didn't know so much about the process of developing Slide before. I knew that it was somewhat cumbersome because since you are not gonna get a negative picture but a positive one, there is more steps into it, and also it involved exposing your film to light again, which is very scary to me, thinking that in the middle of the process of developing you had to expose the film to light. But this kit actually doesn't have that step in particular, and it's just basically like doing C41 but with one more step in it, and everything within the tank, and just shaking and moving and rinsing and washing. And when you open and you see the pictures, you have real pictures right there.
Yeah, it's so exciting. They did come out super blue in the beginning, but then they kind of start to show themselves nicely. Before we go deeper, I want to check a few things, technical issues, get them out of the way. Do we have any friends in the chat?
We do have Sede, and we have Tim, and Matis. I think he went to have dinner, but maybe he's still there.
Just making sure that everything sounds
Hino is
good.
also here, yeah.
So if you guys can let us know that the sound is good and that the sync issues are okay, we would appreciate it, because I'm monitoring. It seems like I'm syncing fine. You are a bit off your camera, so if you guys are experiencing any of that, please let us know in the chat. And yeah, let's get back into the topic until we hear something.
What did you think about the process of developing Slide?
I really liked it. I really the first time I shot the new Ektachrome, we didn't have the kit, and I went ahead and we processed it.
Yeah.
And I was really pleasantly surprised by the results, because it's not like I hate grain. I just like fine grain.
Or, some particular type of grain.
You know what I mean? I like it when it's nice and smooth. I like it when it's there.
Yeah.
Or when it's not overpowering the picture. And when we cross-processed, the Ektachrome came out very smooth. And I was thinking that I was surprised that because it's a cross-process, I expected it to be much more grainy. But it was really fine, and it was nice. The colors were shifted.
But not as much as I expected them to be.
We were able to fix them without not much of work, and it kind of had this nice look to it.
I remember you showing me the pictures that we shot back and cross-processed with C41, and I was like, what? That's out of the, just doing the conversion. It didn't really look so cross-processed to me. I'm used to working with the cross-processing, maybe Velvia and Provia, which they give you really strong color casts and craziness when you cross-process them, which is not to everyone's taste, I know. But when I saw this, it kind of looked quite good. The skin tones were actually pretty accurate. So I was surprised with Ektachrome performance being cross-processed. But of course, now when you see the real deal, processing it in the good chemicals, it's different.
100%. I was expecting that. I was expecting it to be spectacular when we develop it properly. But I was even further pleasantly surprised with the Cinestill, what do they call it? CS6, I think, color kit.
Yeah.
We got the D9, which is supposed to give you 9 stops of dynamic range.
Yeah, so maybe for people that are listening to us that maybe are not so familiar, we explain what the kit is about and why there are different steps, different parts of the first step,
Yeah.
and which one we chose and why, maybe.
All right. So maybe let's go into it from the beginning.
Yeah.
So let's start with the E6 process itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 types of film. We have color negative and color slide.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember when you were young, maybe you saw your parents.
Mm-hmm.
They had these slides that they put in a machine projector, and it just shows the images on the wall. These are slide film. And the difference is that it's used for viewing rather than printing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have as much dynamic range. So if you're taking a photo of somebody in the shadow and behind them is the sky is going to be overblown, or they're going to be very dark if the sky is colorful and you can see it without being too overexposed. We usually shoot negative film, which is also known as print film, because it has more dynamic range and it's used for printing.
Mm-hmm.
Most people shoot print film when they get their photos printed, and when you look at your old photos, most probably these were shot on print film or negative film. So that's always been the case with the slide film, that it doesn't hold the, like, you can easily overexpose the highlights
And underexpose everything.
yeah. you can't stop thinking about that meme you saw.
I can't. It was so good. There was a meme on Reddit that it was, maybe we can leave a link to it, but it was like, doctor, like, I'm overexposed and underexposed at the same time. This man needs more light and less light at the same time. I think someone left it from Reddit and shared in the Discord.
Yeah.
So one reason to be on the Discord. There's fun stuff going on there.
You laughed at that one for like 2 days straight.
I still laugh for it when I think about it.
Yeah. So that's usually the case with the E6 process, and I've had some slides. Do you remember the first Velvia we shot?
Mm-hmm.
In the park one time.
Back in the summer, yeah.
Yeah. We left it at a very nice lab.
Mm-hmm.
We got really, really nice. Like, I think the best results I've got from a lab in this country was that roll. I'm curious to develop some color negative with them, just to see what.
I think they're good.
Yeah, and but still, some of the shots, the highlights were gone because
the
user
metering,
error.
yeah.
I didn't meter properly. I didn't have so much experience, but it wasn't just because Cine still say that they designed this kit with Ektachrome in mind.
Yeah.
And it does give really nice results on Ektachrome.
Uh-huh.
However, I really enjoyed the Velvia we shot on it either. And not a single photo had any clipping in the highlights.
Nice.
Some of them were a bit too dark in the shadows.
Yeah.
That was the case in most cases, that the shadows, again, it's user error. But I'm really, really impressed with the results. Some shots I shot and I was like, okay, I metered for the shadow, but I also took in mind that, do you remember the photo of the hotel with the pickup truck outside?
Mm-hmm.
That one I was like, if anything is going to happen, I'm going to clip the highlights.
Yeah.
I remember metering that shot. And when I looked at it, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so as you said, this Cine Still, what they had was Ektachrome in mind, but the particular thing about this E6 kit is that for the first developer, because the process is first you use a developer, so you develop the image that you have there, then you have to do a color and reversal step, which basically turns your image from negative to positive, and then you do the bleach and fix, and then you do the photo flow if you want in the end.
Yep.
So Cine Still gives you the possibility to choose 3 different first developers, depending on the kind of style you want and also the kind of dynamic range that you would like to get from your images.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a tungsten one, a daylight balance one, and a dynamic one, they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And the dynamic one, they say that in good conditions, they can give you up to 9 stops of range. Right?
Exactly.
9 stops of range. Which means if you have shot some places that maybe is quite contrasty, so you have a lot of differences between the shadows and the highlights, which means that you have a higher dynamic range than if you have an image that is rather flat. This kind of developer would get you the best results in those situations. And also the dynamic one that gives you 9 stops of dynamic range. It's also warmer in tone, they say, and we decided to go for that because it's more of our liking.
Well, it's you can dilute it in 3 different
Oh,
ways.
that's true. Mm-hmm.
So if you do a 1-to-1 dilution, it's going to give you a warm tone, and then if you do it 1-to-2,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to give you more normal. You read the. Do you
Yeah,
remember?
so 1-to-1 is warm, 1+2, it will give you more neutral tone, but you will retain even more highlight details, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1+3, it would be even more neutral, so a bit less warm than it was.
And
1+3,
probably more
yeah.
dynamic range, or
That it didn't say so much, or at least I don't remember.
because what
particularly.
I'm thinking is that if the developer is less effective,
Strong, yeah.
less strong, it's gonna develop the highlights slower.
Yeah.
So that's how you
That's
kind
true.
of like get the shadows up. Maybe like give the shadows more time to brew without spiking the highlights.
All in all, I think it just worked really nicely.
I have to say though, we haven't scanned the images yet. We just looked at them at the light table. And the claim of 9 stops, I've seen some results being done online. And the claim of 9 stops is a big claim, like 9 stops.
Maybe pushing it.
Yeah, but we will do more testing.
But do you know, like for me, like the moment where I was like, wow, it was one photo that we have of a landscape with the moon early in the day, of almost full moon, so that means there's a lot of surface of the moon. And you managed to have your landscape well exposed, although perhaps a little bit on the less exposed side. And the moon, you can see details in the moon. You can see the craters in the moon. How much of retaining detailing highlights is needed in order to actually get that for a slide film?
That's true. I forgot about the fact that the moon was in the shots, because I was we did as I promised, I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone, and we did a photo shoot with a friend of mine who's a fitness model, and she wanted to take some photos for her sponsors, and we were like, yeah, let's have some fun. And towards the end of the shoot, we stumbled upon this landscape that was beautiful. The colors in the sky were amazing, but where we were was kind of dark because there was a lot of trees around. So she was the darkest element in the whole set. And we had a flash and a reflector, and I was trying to do some fill light, although in some photos it worked, in some photos it didn't. I'm still not sure why. We have to like
test it a little bit more.
I mean, it was freezing cold. She was freezing in a t-shirt.
It was -6.
And I was using because Eva couldn't help because she also had a bunch of cameras, and I was holding the RZ sideways
because we cannot turn the revolving back.
My RZ, since the trip to the to the north, it stopped shooting in vertical mode. So now if I have to shoot vertical mode, I just hold it like this. And so I had the flash pointing down to the floor, and I had the reflector holding it against on my knees, basically. So maybe I didn't reflect the light properly.
I know for sure there is one that it worked.
One of them came out really nice.
Tim is saying, show the film, guys. We cannot show you the film right now because it's not yet digitalized. This is we're telling you the really very first impressions of seeing this film developed.
I mean, we can actually. We can if people want to see it, we can figure it out.
Maybe we can just show it there.
I can point this.
I can put the.
Or
maybe
we can use this light or that light.
We'll see. Maybe if we.
Maybe towards the end, we'll keep you hooked.
In any case, that details on the moon from that shot from the trip to the north, like, blow my mind. When I saw that, like, I didn't expect from a slide shot to get that.
That's true. I forgot about that roll.
Yeah, that's like incredible.
Yeah, Tim, you've seen the Vision 3 photo we shared on the Discord. We took, because the landscape was so beautiful, I told you guys I doubled a lot of images because the RZ was missing a lot of exposures. And so I took the same one apparently on Ektachrome, and that one came out even better, and it's mind-blowing. I'm not blaming it on the Vision 3. I love that film. It's becoming my favorite negative film, which is strange because it's not a photographic film to begin with, but it's performing really, really nicely. However, I was very impressed with the Ektachrome. I think Eva is Yeah, she's looking for it. She found it. Yeah, nice. If you're listening to this podcast, I would have to say that this would be much better if you come and hang out with us live. Also, if you listen to the intro, the submissions are still open to give us a nicer intro or anything. Maybe some music for the waiting screen. We will always love to use your music and, of course, credit you in the links down below. And as always, check out the links whenever you're done or during the podcast. We try to put them up ahead so you can watch with us maybe in high resolution. And if you like my skills wasting time until Eva finds the photo, please give it a thumbs up. So, you got it. Cool.
I think so.
Let's see which one it is.
I think it's on the second row.
On the second row. Did you give me gloves?
Yes,
Thank you.
Practices for the audience.
All right. Now it's time to. It's your turn to keep talking while I.
Yeah. All right. Hi. He knew. He's saying that he has sync issues. I'm not sure. If anybody else has sync issues, please let us know. Is it that one? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
How are we gonna do this?
Let's see.
Yes, for the people listening, we're trying to get to show a slide film because, of course, we don't have to convert it.
All right, so I'm gonna use your angle.
Sure.
If that's okay.
Yes.
And now you get to see my awesome.
He's coming. Tim is
solution.
coming. He's like, I don't see anything.
I think this light might be too harsh.
Yes. Wait.
Yeah, let's use that one. This is an absolute mess right now.
I cannot do it.
It doesn't reach?
No. Wait.
Oh, okay, then maybe you do it on the other camera.
On the other camera?
Yeah. You want the glove?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, we're trying to now put it on the other camera because I have a light table that I can change the brightness of.
Yeah, she's about to hijack my angle.
Okay. Can you change?
It is. You're on. You just need to. You can see the monitor here on the screen. You need to do the focus.
Okay. I'll try.
Just focus on the closest distance you have there.
Yeah.
And then move the light table closer to it.
Is this? No. The other way.
You might be too close. Yeah. Yeah, this is the photo. There is detail on the moon. I can confirm that. And you can also see that the frame right next to it is completely black. That's because of the...
Should I put the light a bit less strong?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with the Ektachrome results. I think I need to oil this mic stand. You can almost see it. Maybe back up a little bit. There.
It's so cool.
Yeah, again, this lens is a soft lens, so you're not getting much details in there. And there's a lot of gradient like happening. What do you call it when the gradient is sectioned like that?
No.
And more to the side. Yeah, this was dark. Like this was at
This was like early in the morning.
very early in the morning, like 3 or 4 a.m.
Okay.
It was the foreground was pretty dark and the sky was very bright, but you can see there's a lot of detail in the shot, even in the shadows. All right, I'm gonna re-sleeve this. Before you sit down, can you fix my camera, please?
Oh, of course, yes. Sorry.
Now I'm just a blur. Yep, almost. And you got it. Cool. So, this was crazy. We hope you guys
Yes.
enjoyed it.
The podcast listeners are gonna be confused as hell.
Yeah. This is now one of the episodes that is best for listening.
Experience.
Hold on, let me see. Let me hook you up.
Yeah, Tim. We also really think these photos are amazing, and I can't wait to. Actually, I was thinking that I have only seen 35 millimeter slide before because my parents used to shoot a lot, but I never seen mounted medium format slides.
Me neither. I haven't seen those. I mean, growing up, I haven't seen 120 film at all. It was it was like a studio thing. It wasn't something that my family or relatives shot with. Yeah, one of my relatives actually told me that he used to work in a photo lab when he was like 17 or something, and they used to shoot on 6x9, and these were like considered like big photos, and his job was to sit and take a pencil and do retouching
on the negative.
On the negatives themselves.
That's old school Photoshop.
Yeah, which was really cool. I assume to have a summer job like that. But anyways, what are you seeing on the chat? People.
Yeah, Tim is saying medium format projectors aren't super common, but those you find are only 6x6. Good luck finding one that does anything larger than that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Most things are for medium format are 6x6. The way we do scanning right now is kind of like designed to 6x6 as well.
So
with
we had to move things around a lot.
The digitalizer is the Lomo. Is it by Lomo? It is Lomography digitalizer holder. We put it on the light table, and it's designed to take 3 6x6 frames. So when you cut your film, you can just really nicely do it. It does well with the 6x9 because then you can load 2 photos at a time. But then when you want to do 6x7, then always one photo is hanging out.
Yeah.
If you cut them, the way we cut them is 3 photos, and then 2 photos, 2 photos. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know, like a slide is like a completely different thing, and I really enjoy it a lot more than I guess I expected, and I would like to have a projector and see, and like the things. It would be really nice.
Yeah, and you do shoot now. Your favorite camera is a 6x6. So.
Yeah, it is actually. So far. Now that we were actually talking, you were mentioning how your relative used to do manual Photoshop on the negatives. Maybe we can move to our next topic of today.
We can do that, but first I want to address something. We, as always, we post on Instagram before the show that if you have any topics you want us to get into and any questions. We got an interesting one from our longtime friend and Discord, I think is live as well. The question was about consumer grade, like opinions on consumer grade Kodak versus Fujifilm, as well as just in general. We could get into that, but it's a longer topic, and maybe we should be more prepared to get into that. So maybe we will do it in another episode.
Yeah.
Or maybe we might do a video like on it, standalone, so it's more in depth.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I think it's important to mention with color negative film, I feel like nowadays, especially with the digitalized processing, I don't think it plays that much role anymore. You have your consumer films, they're gonna be not necessarily like the grain is gonna be different. Of course, the biggest difference you will see in that is in the format you're shooting. So the bigger your picture, the less grain is gonna be apparent. And most consumer grade films don't come in 120 size. You can consider Lomo films to be the thing that fills that gap. But other than that, as I was saying, with the digitalized process, it's so easy to change everything and make it look the way you want or the way you had it in mind when you took the photo. the real differences, like the real effect of these differences between these emulsions was more of a thing when you were printing.
Yeah.
Because if you get into printing, especially with color, if you're into this topic, I really recommend a channel on YouTube called The Naked Photographer. Really cool videos. He does a lot of printing videos, and he will show you how would you would do a color correction on your print using filters that you have to look through, and then when it looks right, then you load that filter into the printing machine and so on. So I think the different emulsions, even the same brand or across brands, is more of a deciding factor. But nowadays, I think whatever film you have, you can just shoot and
then do color correction, color grading, change a lot the profiles. Yeah, because there are certain characteristics that are inherent to one or other brand. But if you really don't want to keep that inherent characteristic, you can get rid of it when you are working with the photo afterwards.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah, there was one controversy about Kodak and skin tones. It was if you have a darker skin, it's hard to get the color right with the. But I think that's an old thing, and it's more of a. Because I've seen a lot of like portrait of black people on Portra, and it looks great. So I don't know. I think they might have addressed it. Maybe it was an old thing. So I don't think it's something to like meaningful to get into. Yeah. At least because I've seen results and they look great. So the thing was that Fuji was better because it was sold in the Asian markets, and you have people from India, for example, and they have darker skin. Yeah. And also Thailand and all these countries around Japan. So they had this the international market more in mind. So I saw this this piece on YouTube. I think it was, I don't remember who it was, something like The Verge or something. And it felt to me more like a political statement rather than a technical one. So we don't care about that.
Not so much.
Yeah. I mean, if your intention is pure, sometimes mistakes happen. But what do you think? Shall we jump into it?
Yes, I think we should.
All right.
Because it's really cool.
So the photo that we're going to be talking about is called Dali Atomicus.
Yes.
And it's a really beautiful, beautiful photo. Hold on, let me pull it up.
It's a
there
crazy photo.
Yeah. So you can see here, as Eva mentioned earlier, speaking of drawing with a pencil on a negative. I mean, what happened here?
Yeah, try to describe it for the people that are not watching right now.
Hold on, let me just fix our thumbnail on the corner so we're not obstructing anything. Right. Yeah. So if you're listening to the podcast, what we're looking at is a picture of Dali, the painter, famous painter, jumping in the air with his canvas next to him, also floating, and he's more or less in the center of the frame. On the left side, there's a chair also floating. And there's like this splash of water that is cutting across the frame from the bottom right corner all the way up to the right corner, but then it goes to the right. There is 3 cats.
Not just 1, 3.
Flying through across the frame from the right side, and also there's a stool or like a 2-step ladder.
And another painting.
And another painting, which was actually the inspiration for this photograph. What was it called? Lida Atomica?
Lida Atomica, yeah.
And in the painting itself, there's also floating elements. I think when they were talking about this, so should we do a little bit background on the photographer?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yes.
Okay, so Halsman is a very, very well-known photographer. Very well, how do you say, prolific?
Prolific, yeah, I would
photographer.
say.
He has the record of the most time
Life
magazine.
Life magazine.
Life?
I think so.
I always confuse.
Let me just double check.
He has 101 covers of the magazine that is called Help Me Eva.
Yes, Life. The Life
Yeah.
magazine. Yeah.
Life magazine.
No Time. Life.
No, sorry.
And actually, this was a cover of Life as well.
Yeah, I got confused because I was also getting a piece from the Time that I also linked in the description below. So Life magazine, 101 covers. This was one of them, as Eva mentioned. And they met in New York while in the 40s, I think in 41.
Yeah.
While they did live previously in Paris.
At the same time.
And never met. They never knew each other. And then they became good friends. Another interesting, I think, trivia about Philippe Halsman is that he went to the US with the help of guess who?
I don't know.
Well, none other than Albert Einstein.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know he had a very popular photo of Einstein, right?
A few of those.
Yeah.
And he hooked him up with the visa
Oh, nice.
to go to America. And that's where he met Dali. And they, as I heard Philip's daughter mention on the timepiece that I watched in preparation to this, it was like Dali never wanted to touch a camera and Philip never wanted to touch a brush.
So they worked together.
Yeah, but they were very happy working together and making these great images.
That's
and
great.
She was also in the making
Yeah.
of this photograph. She was a little kid at the time, and her job was to catch the cats after every take and dry them while somebody mops the floor. I think her mom was holding the chair that you see on the side. So let me get into... I took some snapshots from the video. Here you can see the fishing line that they used to suspend the frame, the canvas. This is the Dali Atomica. You can see that in the painting everything is floating and there's a duck, which is funny because when they were trying to create this, they were like thinking about it. What do you want to do? And then Dali was like, we can get a duck and put some dynamite in the back end.
Explode it.
Blow it up. And Philip was like, no, we can't do that. We'll go to prison.
He was an interesting character, Dali.
Yeah. And instead they got a bunch of cats and then they threw them in the air.
I'm sure that nowadays someone would say throwing the cats in the air is also animal torture, but I'm sure the cats had fun.
Yeah, cats are fun.
They love it.
Yeah. This is the camera that was used. It's a TLR.
Yes.
Might be custom made, I think, as I was skimming through in preparation. But I might be very, very wrong. As always, if you have any valuable information that we miss in the episode, leave them in the comments below and we will pin them for everybody else to read. And what else happened here? There, you can see, according to his daughter, do you know how many takes they took? Do you remember? I think I told you a number.
Yes, 20-something?
26.
26.
Right. So they did 26 takes. Every time Philip will fire a shot and then he will take it out and run to the attic where he does the development and comes back. This is not right. This was too far. Wow. This was too close. Let's redo this. They did it 26 times until they got that.
What shutter speed do you think it was? Maybe 500th of a second?
I have no idea. I couldn't find information on the technical stuff because if you notice in the frame that I'm showing right now on the screen, you will see that the frame in where the canvas is supposed to be, where Dali is painting, is empty.
Yes.
Right? But if we look at the final image,
look at the cat. Sorry.
You will see that there's a painting there, and the thing that happened is that Dali painted after the fact and they collaged it in.
Oh, nice. Actually, when you showed me this photo and you asked me like, can you guess how they made this? Like you were like, oh, maybe we should talk about this photo. And because I do know that collages weren't that weird of a thing to do, to create a crazy image or to create a crazy photo that you want to put different elements together. So to me, the most logical is like, they took photos of the individual things and then they kind of put it in together, which is the old school Photoshop. But then you're like, no, they actually took one photo. This is one photo. And I was like, what?
But apparently there was some collage happening.
But anyways. I mean, that's like minimal but to create all
Yeah,
this, it was
like the
kind of
cats.
part of the art in itself, right?
Yeah, I mean, you would assume that here I'm showing you guys the shots that didn't work, and you would assume out of all things that the cats were the things that would maybe like added to the photo or the splash of water, but it was the painting. Here you can see the family, the whole family,
I
and they're all holding their TLRs. Um,
the sizes.
yeah,
Look, they just like it's so perfect.
I know, right? It's so cute.
The
Especially
bigger one,
the smaller daughter has the
Papa TLR, Mama TLR, older sister TLR.
yeah. And here you can see that somebody's holding the chair
Yeah.
and the cat's flying across the room. Let's see what else. I'm just showing you all the takes that I could find on this image, and you can see they literally tried so many takes. Here I
The
I
water
noticed
from the other side, yeah.
he was also using a Kodak film of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
There, so
Kodak, yeah.
but the thing that I couldn't find was that how did they collage that image? That's what I'm not so sure about.
So what I read,
Okay.
let me see if I find here. Let me see if I find it. Yeah, so the only thing is that when Halsman finally was satisfied with the composition, Dali added a finishing touch to the printed photograph,
Mm-hmm.
the swirls of paint that appear on the easel. So he actually painted the photo.
Yeah.
He painted the photo. So it was not really a collage of things and then made a photo. Is the photo, the printed one,
Mm-hmm.
he painted on top of it.
All right. So he painted on top of the
Apparently.
print.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good enough for me. So when I was doing some reading on Halsman on his website,
Mm-hmm.
you can see that he has a autobiography there, and what he was talking about the most, there was a section is the experiments with light,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that he very early on, when I think when he was 15, that's when he started, and
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have the ability to buy film,
Oh.
so he could only buy wet plates.
Yeah.
These glass pieces that are
Mm-hmm.
basically painted with emulsion layer, and then he would load them into the camera,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when he got how do you say, what's the word? He fell in love with the whole photographic
Mm-hmm.
process, and he was actually studying to become an engineer,
Mm-hmm.
and he dropped out, if I remember correctly, last year, and then decided to go to Paris and become a photographer. But then later on, as he kept experimenting, he realized the importance of light, and how much it can change the image. And I think this is a important topic to. Sorry, I kicked your camera again.
Right.
It's an important topic to think about, especially going back to our last episode,
Mm-hmm.
in relation to gear versus technique, is that this man became one of the most prolific photographers of his time. Maybe you look now at the images and be like, yeah, it's like you can easily do that with the strobe and whatever. He was working with the floodlights until he moved to America, and that's where he learned about flash
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. It wasn't common at the time in Europe. And so gear does play a role, but how much you take it, how much you push it, what you do with it is all up to you. So if you have a camera, you already have your foot in the door, and you have basically all kind of things to be able to do
It
with
is
it.
very scientific in nature as well, right? Like trial and error, and you experiment and you take notes, and then you learn what you can do with it. So to me, it has a lot of science in it, even though like you might not know, what's the science behind making a photo, but you are doing a scientific process when you are testing light and learning how to work with it, and doing experiment after experiment.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of one of the things that maybe attracts you and I to film, because you're more involved in the process. Because when you shoot, like if you grew up in a digital era, we take the cameras for granted. You just press a button and a photo appear, and then you can do that 2,000 more times before you have to switch cards.
Yeah.
And which is great. It's fantastic. You know. I wonder if these classic photographers from old days, how would their experience would have been if they were born now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because as you mentioned, that approach is very scientific. And like for example, he was going to be an engineer,
Mm-hmm.
dropped out because he fell in love with another science, that is photography.
I see it a bit like that, yes.
Right? But do you feel like photography is, like digital photography is losing the science element?
Uh, I think it really depends of how involved the photographer is in what's happening, right? It really depends on the approach, because you can not really have to even register what things are you changing, and then because you can change so many things and then try and error without really doing more. To thinking about like, oh, what does the closing the aperture means? Why do I get more light if I change this particular setting or not? And I do think that all photographers, if they really get into photography, they will eventually get to know these things. What does it mean, how the triad of ISO, shutter speed and aperture relate to each other, into the sensitivity of into getting the image into the sensor and all that. That has the principles of it are the same in analog photography, film photography, and digital photography. And I do want to believe that the photographers that are working as photographers would have that knowledge eventually. But of course, you take away all the chemistry process of it. That was a lot of science into photography that's not there anymore. Nobody goes and wonders, oh, how does the printer makes the image in the printer, right? And puts the ink together. But before, when you were working in the darkroom, you knew these chemicals are doing this, these steps are doing that. This is how you get the film developed. This is how you make a print. So I do think that digital photography allows people to be less in touch with the science of it in order to get the results. Yeah, I think.
You know what I feel like? I feel like digital is almost like the equivalent of having a really good zoom lens. You know what I mean?
You don't have to move.
Yeah, no, you don't have to move, and then you don't explore as many angles as you could possibly when you're limited by a prime lens. And then because I can't go here, I'm trying to back up, but there's a wall, so maybe I'll go into that corner. So it's like you have to figure your way around it more than if it was you can just zoom in or zoom out. Just like go very wide, and then you don't care about the wall behind you.
This topic of like how much science there is in photography kind of makes me think back also about like how much art there is in science, which I think there is a duality there, and I think both things are artists and scientists have a lot more in common that they normally think when they don't get to know each other or talk to each other about what they're doing. At least my utopic vision of the scientist, let's say, because I know not all scientists have the same ideas in mind, or they work with the same type of workflow, or they are in science for the same reasons. Let's just be honest about that.
Yeah.
But the utopic idea of a scientist to me is so much more closer to my idea of an artist that a lot of them realize. So now you're saying like how if the new photography, it's allowing people to have less science in it or be less in touch with the science. I'm thinking a little bit about how much creativity and artist mind is needed to be a good scientist as well. So I think there are a lot of things shared between the two ways of thinking and acting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think intention plays a role with whatever you do. And Before we keep going, I wanted to ask you something. I think you said you were familiar with the image because I just found that I prepared a file for it, and I kind of want to share it with the folks watching.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go back. These are the two paintings. Well, the painting on the left is Atomic Leda, which was the inspiration for the photo. The one on the right, however, what's up with that one?
I actually don't know the story or the history behind it. It's a very strikingly visual photograph that I remember seeing in books, and especially in, I think, of the mid-century photography portfolios. That one kept like coming up and up because I think it's a very unique image in itself. Voluptuat.
Oh, so they actually took a photo.
Yeah. They took a photo.
Because I remember seeing that. I was
Not safe
watching.
for work.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I completely forgot. I remember. I remember seeing a photo of. Do you think the stream will be down?
No, I don't think so. That's all right.
Maybe. Should we edit that part out?
We'll see.
Well, sorry, YouTube. We're not monetized yet, so I think we can do whatever. What I was gonna say is that I thought that they had it, Philip or Dali holding that
The
image,
picture, okay.
yeah, in their hand, and then, well, I guess that's not safe for work either. But the photo of Dali with the bodies right next to him making a skull.
Yeah.
I think I saw him holding it in his hand.
Maybe that was a posterior or something, but I think the original idea was to make a photo.
Yeah.
With a subject and then the skull as well. Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to take another look at it. I'm gonna turn off the sharing.
Tim is saying that whenever we show something on the monitor, the mic volume goes down a bit. We apologize.
Yeah, I think I know how to fix that really quickly. Thank you, Tim, for that. Can you keep the conversation
yes,
going?
Yes, of course. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, so I remember seeing that photo and being very attracted to it, to look at it, because I was, it's the subject of so macabre, like a skull, but it's actually made of living pieces, which is these women. Somehow it was like a cognitive dissonance in my head when I was looking at that photo.
All right.
And
hold on, I'm gonna interrupt you.
Yes.
Brace yourself.
I brace.
And the audio should be fixed now.
Yes. Okay. Great.
All right. So you were seeing that photo and you.
Yeah. I was like, how? What does this mean? I remember thinking like, what does it mean for the author? Like, why did they decide this? this particular motive, but with these women. And of course, like Dali was known for his surrealist ideas and work, and I think like things don't really need to make sense, but it is a very striking image to be in front of, I think.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it now, and the proportions and the way they're floating in the air is curious as well.
Yes.
It's very curious. I never really analyzed that image. It just feels so natural when you look at it, but at the same time, when you take a second to look what's going on, it's like, oh, how is this body of people just suspended in the air?
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch of bodies. There's somebody on the bottom as well. It looks like they're not standing anywhere.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I think this man had great ideas. It was super creative to try to come up with. I see the relationship with Dali. Dali comes up with these crazy ideas, and he's like, okay, let's just try to see how we can make it actually happen.
Right. My chain of thoughts is now completely off.
Yeah.
After realizing how many nude women we displayed on the podcast, and I was completely not thinking about it. Like I'm looking at this. It's art, it's beautiful, and then in my head I'm not like...
No, to me it's not something prohibited or like, no, it's something natural, something normal. I don't see it more like if it would be a cat, the same. It's
Exactly.
like the cat
It's just
there and
beautiful
a
figures.
person.
It doesn't seem like it's not sexual in any way. So
No.
I completely slipped my head that we're showing that on the stream.
Issues of the life.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is about it for today.
Yeah,
It's a short one. We wanted to like share this image with you guys.
and I encourage people to, if you have an idea of creating an image, try how you could actually make it happen, making one image instead of resourcing to other techniques like collage or making different photos and putting them together, which is also artistic in itself and it's nothing wrong with it. But I think the exercise of thinking how would you make it happen as a photo, it's super interesting. And then you have a whole story to tell about how that photo became the photo it is, right?
Right.
And so if you have an idea of something crazy, I encourage you go and think, how can I make it actually happen?
Yep. And I think it's an important subject to touch on when it comes to editing your photos, because if you're familiar with Nick Carver, he did a really, really cool video on this topic.
Yes.
We recommend, I'm guessing if you're watching this, you've probably seen the video, but if not, watch it. Maybe I'll link it down below, about his feelings on editing photos. And I do share a lot of his views on the topic. And here, yet we are talking about these photos, how they were staged and how they were edited. But it goes back to the fact that not all photos are the same. So when you're thinking about, for example, something that is conceptual is completely different than something that is journalistic.
Yes.
So if you're showing something that is not obviously supposed to be staged, I think you are kind of what's the word? You're you're required to tell us that is
to be truthful.
Yeah. So I think the problem is when you're trying to pass off something staged as if it was not.
Yeah. Is the deception? The deception is what it should not be permitted. And it's just not nice.
I think we were, somebody was showing their photos. I'm not gonna name names or where I was looking at these photos, but somebody was showing their photos and then they were like, oh, do you like this version or this version? And the second one of the versions was completely different. Like the sky was completely it was a completely different sky. And I was like, well, hold on a second, which one? Like, I don't even know which one is the real one. And from that point on, because that person wasn't upfront about it and said that this is a changed sky, because the photo was just a landscape photo. And now I'm like, every time I see a photo by that person, sometimes it's a very interesting moment, and it could be a very interesting photo if it was captured naturally.
Yeah.
But if it was staged, it's mediocre as a stage photo.
And it loses the value.
No. That's not what I'm saying. If it was supposed to be staged.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It looks like a mediocre staged photo. But it looks like a great street photo. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like if you kick the ball in basketball, it's a foul. And if you touch the ball with your hand in football.
So inherited is not right or wrong. It's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of made me lose all faith in whatever photos that person posts. I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah.
I lost interest. I'm like, who cares?
I mean, and there are sadly well-known photographers that obviously they are doing those kind of things, but they don't talk about it, and they are not really transparent about what they're doing, and they are selling very expensive photographs that I wouldn't consider photographs. If anything, it might be graphic art.
Yeah.
But they are.
But here's the thing. So if we're talking about stage photos, what's his name? The famous photographer. He did that album cover that got very famous. David LaChapelle.
No, yeah, David LaChapelle is the one that did the.
He does very
the rapper. He does like
very elaborate
shots.
I respect that, Maybe it's not necessarily my thing. Maybe it's not necessarily my color palette or anything. I do enjoy some of his photos. Not all of his photos are my cup of tea, but I can't take anything away. I can't criticize any of his work because ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
These staged photos are staged to a specific point, to a certain point that you have to admire the amount of work
Put
that
into it. Yeah,
put into it.
definitely.
But so like you look at it and you're immediately like, what the heck happened here?
Yes.
How is this a photo? And then you're like, yeah, I mean, you understand that
Mhm.
it's a stage photo, that things are not just there, but it's at least beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
put there beautifully. There's another photographer that I can't remember the name of, and he always does these photos of people who are fallen on their face.
Oh yeah, you showed me that. Yeah.
And always takes a like top-down view of people just falling in the most random places
Weird. Yeah.
with like things flying everywhere. And I love this like photographer's work because that's not something that's just gonna happen on its own, but it's very interesting to look at, especially when you have as many scenarios as they created.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if there was a man or a woman, the photographer. But
It's
if
a
I find
complete
it,
different thing.
I will leave it below as
Yes.
always. So yeah, that's and I think the work that Philip and Dali did together definitely falls into that category. Maybe it was the birth, let's say, of
Yeah.
that category. As far as I know, I'm sure people did something like that, maybe not exactly like that before,
Mm-hmm.
but this is one of the first, let's say, well-known occurrences of this kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, be upfront about your work, and if you're trying to create something
Yeah.
extraordinary, go for it, and go for it full throttle. Full throttle. Don't try to hide it under something that is not. Don't try to pass a landscape photo that is with a different sky as a real photo.
That was taken.
Yeah.
Tim, on that topic, Tim commented, back in the early parts of the 20th century, it used to be completely normal to paste a different sky in photos. So common, you can see the same sky in several different photos. I believe it stems from the difficulties in capturing properly exposed skies.
I immediately was thinking that it was probably because of a limitation,
Yeah.
and it was a solution to a limitation.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, you can still capture the sky. It wasn't because they had a lack of interesting sky.
No.
It was because they had a lack of sky in the photo.
Yeah.
I'm guessing in the 20s. They couldn't expose the foreground and the background.
Yeah.
So they had to... It's kind of like HDR photography.
A little bit, yeah.
What I'm talking about is this app that people use, is that it just something AI, and it
Yeah.
just puts a different sky. You can choose which sky do you want. Do you want it to be this one?
Sunset, midday,
Yeah.
with this with these clouds. Yeah. I mean, it's not the same. I wouldn't consider it the same.
I mean, again, it's okay as long as you're doing something creative with it,
Mm-hmm.
not just a normal landscape, and I mean, do whatever you want. But I think transparency is important,
Definitely.
especially nowadays. You see a lot of people talking all about the deep fakes and deep fakes and all that stuff. I don't know. I think it's going off the rails. Speaking of going off the rails and stuff that really, really agitate me, I think we promised the people that we're going to talk about other things than photography on this podcast. And I think I should probably tell you what happened yesterday. What do you think?
Sure.
Should I go into it?
Sure.
All right. I have a poll for you guys. If you're on the line in the grocery store and you have a bunch of stuff, and then you see somebody coming in with one item in their hand, will you say, hey, is that the only thing you have? And they say yes. And they say, well, you can go ahead. I have a bunch of stuff. Will you do that, or will you stand your ground and check out your groceries and let them wait behind you to check out their single item?
I mean, one thing is, okay, if you want to go quickly with your groceries and you have a lot of groceries and you just want to get over with. But what happened to you was not that case. What happened to you is that someone didn't let you and then stood for a long time chatting with the cashier and taking its sweet time to finish is a different thing.
Right? And so I went to buy a jar of pickles yesterday. And there was this woman. She was checking out her groceries, and I stood in line behind her. And then another woman comes from the end of the aisle, and she's like rushing to stop me from standing in the line. And she's like, "If you don't mind, this is my turn in the line." And I was surprised because like I've been standing here for a few seconds now, and you just showed up out of nowhere. And I was like, I gave her a second to realize that I'm holding a single jar of pickles, and maybe she will change her mind. She'll be like, "Oh, do you only have that? Sure, you can go ahead." She stayed quiet. She didn't say anything. So I was like, "Sure, go ahead." And she took my place in the line.
With the things that she had on her.
Yeah, she basically was carrying like 4 or 5 items, and I was like, "Fine, 4 or 5 items, whatever." And then, so the woman that was already checking out was almost done, so she started putting her stuff, and there was a pile of stuff on the floor that she earlier had left there, and it was a lot. And that's not the only thing that bothered me, is that apparently she was like close friends with the cashier, and they were just having a conversation, like a brunch, There's like, and the cashier was into the conversation, so would check out an item, and then talk to her for a while, and then grab the second item, check it out, and talk more. I was standing there. I was like, "Is this really happening?" Like
Someone said in the chat she cheated.
I don't even know. I don't even know what to think about that. I was really upset. And then I got to my turn, and then I checked out the item, and I walked out. She was still maybe like two items in her bag, because she was still talking to the cashier. I mean, just let me go. Let me go. Why do you imprison me in this grocery store? You didn't have to. I was there with a jar of pickles.
Oh, I wasn't there, but it's quite comedic, and to hear the story. I know it's very frustrating. I know it's
I get it. It's just, I just want to take this moment. I want to take this platform to do a public service announcement. If you see somebody in the grocery stores in line, and they have a single item, let them go ahead of you. They'll appreciate it.
You will make a person happy that day. Yeah. Definitely.
And you'll gain some karma.
Definitely. Karma points.
Yeah. And on that silly note, I think, unless we have anything in the chat.
No, they were just commenting. I commented what they said.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then. As always, thank you guys for watching.
Yes, keep an eye on our social media, because we always open, time for questions right before the episode, so we can, if you want to comment anything or ask anything, we will cover it during the episodes as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
And also, you can DM us, talk to us about if you want to share your music with us. We're in desperate need for that.
Your art.
Your art, yeah. We're soon announcing, maybe we're gonna launch our own Discord or something like that, just to have it for photo competitions.
Maybe, yeah.
So that's something to keep your eye on as well. But other than that, I think that's it for today.
Yes.
As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.